Hey everyone, today we are going to learn about fractions. In second grade, fractions are super fun. Let's read our learning target together. It's 2.G.A.3, which you don't really need to know, but it says I can partition circles and rectangles into 2, 3, or 4 equal shares. And I can describe the shares using the words halves, thirds, half of, a third of, etc., and describe the whole as 2 halves, 3 thirds, 4 fourths. And we're also going to recognize that equal shares of identical wholes need not have the same shape. That is a lot of words, but we are going to break it down and hopefully have a better understanding by the end of this video. So when we have a whole object, a fraction is a part of a whole object. So we've learned about partitioning when we did multiplication. That means we're going to cut or divide. We're going to partition these whole shapes into smaller pieces. But something super important with fractions, this is a must, the pieces must be the same size. So we are going to partition our wholes into same size pieces. We can't have part of our whole being one side, and then, if we partition it into 2 pieces, there's 1 and there's 2. No, that does not work, right? Our pieces have to be equal. And I like to think about it with food. If this circle was a pizza, and we're going to partition it into halves, which would be 2 pieces, and I'm going to talk about that in just a second. If I'm hungry, and this was piece 1 and piece 2, I would be mad if I got piece 1. That's not fair, okay? So we need to make sure our pieces are equal. They're the same size. The same amount is represented in each piece. So we're going to partition this circle into halves, okay? Halves is any whole object. The whole object is this. The whole circle. When we partition it into halves, we are partitioning it into 2 equal pieces. Let me try that again. We're partitioning it into two equal pieces. And it might not be perfect on the video, but we're going to do our best, okay? So 2 equal pieces. So this is piece 1, and piece 2, okay? The 2 equal pieces. So we have halves. Okay? So if this was let's say this is a pizza or a cookie or something like that, and I'm going to eat this, hang on, whoa, I spelled that wrong, halves. Because I was thinking about if I was eating just 1 piece of it, this would be 1 half, H-A-L-F. And that's a little bit of a different spelling because our two halves is spelled like this. 1 half is H-A-L-F. So there's 1 half, and this is 1 half. So if I ate 1 half of that pizza, I ate half of the pizza. 1 of the 2 parts, okay? So 1 half. So any shape that is partitioned into 2 equal pieces is partitioned into halves. Now, let's look at partitioning a whole into thirds. So remember, this rectangle is the whole thing. That's the whole thing. And we're going to partition into thirds. Well, third kind of sounds like 3, right? So thirds, if we partition into thirds, it's going to be 3 equal pieces. So partitioning this rectangle into thirds, we're going to make 3 equal pieces, which means I'm going to draw 2 lines to make my 3 equal pieces. So here's 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3. That's how we would describe those. So we have 1, 2, 3/3. 3/3 equals 1 whole. 3/3 is equal to 1 whole. That's how we think about that. So it takes 3/3, 3 1/3 size pieces to equal 1 whole. So 3/3 is equal to 1 whole. If we thought about that for this one, we would say 2 halves is equal to 1 whole. We're going to partition this rectangle into fourths. Again, this is the whole piece. We're going to partition it into fourths. So we're going to make 3 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure we have the same, our pieces match. Fourths means that they're going to be 4/4 will represent or make up the whole. So if we're labeling this would be 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, and 1/4. That's the size of each piece. Each piece represents 1/4. 1/4 here, 1/4 here, 1/4 here, and 1/4 there. So 4/4 is equal to 1 whole here. 4/4 is equal to 1 whole, and that's how we want to say it. And 1/4 is the size of each piece, and that takes 4/4 to make the whole, represent the whole amount, the whole rectangle. So that's just an introduction, or not introduction, it might be a review, a little explanation of fractions, and we will be practicing these a lot in class because fractions are very important in 2nd grade, but they're pretty, I think they're very fun to be working with. So.